Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Enigmatica 6 single-player Let's Play series. We are on episode 21 today, and in our last episode, if you'll recall, we got ourselves an automated chest for filling up with cake. It's basically just constantly creating cake using our refined storage network and a couple of automated farms down in the lower areas over here by the eggs and other such farms. So with a combination of all these different types of farms that we have, we are finally able to progress into Kekimurus automation with Botania. So deep diving into what we need to get Kekimurus automation going today, we really have left the easiest part of this for this episode. Once we get this done, I think we are good to go. Now, the Solagnolia was preventing our magnet from working, and I really don't think that that's all that necessary at this point anymore. So I am, in fact, going to undo that, or remove that rather, and let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to need a couple of things. We are going to need a placer module from our favorite modular routers. We're also going to need a router. We can camouflage this, which we absolutely will. And we're going to need a couple of other things. So let's grab a, let's see, we're going to need camouflage, right? So we want to camouflage as a, let's take a look. Can you? Yep, you sure can. Perfect. So let us choose chiseled. That way we remember that it's here, right? So we had this one here before. What we're going to do is just put it back and leave it, because I don't think we're really going to need it. And so if we take a placer module and we configure you, right, we have the ender chest down here. We configure you to only place whitelist cakes. Place them up. If we put this here, it should place down cakes. Now the problem is it's not grabbing our cakes, so we're going to need a puller module. And I think just the Mark 1 should be fine. I should most certainly teach my system how to make sticky pistons automatically, but hey, that's okay. So we will pull, and the puller module Mark 1 is just going to pull from neighboring inventory, so we're going to pull below, and we're going to whitelist cakes. So we're only going to pull in cakes from the below chest. That is essentially the setup. That is everything that I couldn't fit into the previous episode. Now, we're probably going to put some speed upgrades in here just to make sure that it can keep up at all times, because that is going to probably be the only bottleneck of ours, is if it were for some reason not able to keep up. So with 9 of these, it should just yoink immediately. Yep, so we're great there. I don't know that these can be tick accelerated. Oh yeah, they definitely can. So now we're just going to start flying through cakes, but that's fine because we're good on milk buckets. We're good on all the other ingredients that we're going to need. So at this point, we are going to fill this guy up pretty quickly. If you'll remember, I had drained it a little bit just a second ago to fill up our ring again so that our magnet would work. And we're having such success here with our mana spreader that it's not even able to keep up, really. Of course, I did just tick accelerate everything, of course, so, you know, only so much that can be done, but still. Yep, this is pretty insane. So this is great. This is exactly where we want to be. Now, there are a couple of things that I would like to get set up. So one of the things would be, I wish that there was a better place for this. That's okay. We can sort that out at a different time. I don't really think we're going to need the brewery right now. Let me think here. So, if we wanted to take a good bit of our power here, our mana here, we should probably get a distributor. What is it? So I've left this new configuration running for a little bit while I tended to some other matters, and it looks like we are already very full up on mana, which is insane. This is turning out to be quite incredible. So I had a couple of thoughts here. What we could probably do is go through and look into some of the opportunities of ours for getting into, like, distributive storage of sorts. So let's see, there's a thing I'm looking for. It is called, here we go, the Mana Splitter. So this allows us to take a collection of mana pools and split into 4. So I think that is probably what I'm going to do, is to split them into 4 different streams, or 4 different mana pools entirely. So to set this up, I think we're kind of running out of space for some of our other setups and other things here, so I'm not really sure exactly what we should do, but I think the first thing that comes to mind of things that could probably go is this little setup right here. Just because there's nothing really that we're going to need this many different mana petals for, so I think it's probably safe to say that we will be just fine without. So if we take this and put it back, what we could do theoretically is have our elevator moved over here instead. So if we take this guy and put it here and take some glimmering living wood, put that there, and move this guy, we can do a couple of things that I've really been wanting to do with this setup. So we can do elevator here, and now we do still in fact have a way to get up. Now I can move our terrestrial agglomeration plate and its entire configuration over here, which will be centered and will kind of appease to the OCD among us, including myself, significantly more so than before. So if we just do this and that, there we go. That is now in the center, which actually kind of makes sense to me. We will need our spark, and we're going to play with sparks today to sort of continue in our little work here. So for the time being, I'm going to simplify our setup. We're going to get rid of a lot of these mana spreaders for now. I just want to kind of clean things up such that the splitter and our 4 mana pools are really kind of the biggest things here. And we're also going to want to get sparks. So we already have a couple. We probably want 4 or 5 more. And what we are going to do is we're going to take a couple of these sparks and make them dominant using these dominant augments. And what we can do in doing that is tell these 2 mana pools up here, when they're assigned a spark, which I think is technically inside of the Natura pylon, we can right-click them, and you can see now there's this little particle that matches. And what that does is it forces them, you can see they're starting to fill up already. You can see these are going to start filling up because they are telling these other mana pools down here that, or this one really, that, hey, us 2 up here, we're more important. We need to get mana first. We have a higher priority. And I would have to agree with that statement. I think that the portal is very important to keep open. Whereas this guy is just a standard spark, so it's just going to pick up whatever it gets whenever it gets it. It's not really concerned. When it needs mana, it'll get the mana, and that is exactly what we're going to go for. So if we take a look at some living wood to kind of clean this up a bit, we'll put this here. We will have our mana splitter. And what I don't recall is if the mana splitter works in one of 2 ways. Okay, so I believe it works in the latter. So what I was wondering is, does it distribute for me, or does it need to receive, does it basically need to have a mana spreader be spread into it, which I think is the case. So let's grab a spreader, and I just want to test that theory real quick. And what we can do, just to kind of make this really efficient, is the following. We'll take you, and actually we'll do this, and put you here, and we'll do this, and put you here. And I believe, yes, there we go. Now it's going to distribute to these 3. I don't know. I would love to find out. I don't know if, like, let's say I put this one here, and we bind you here, right? So you're facing down, and we take you and bind you here. Does this work? Would this distribute? Yes, it does. Okay, so I think this might be an even cooler way of doing it. I do understand that this is not the most 100% efficient method of doing this. I do not care. I think it looks extra cool, and I think it would look even more extra cool if we did a couple of different things from here. So here's what I'm thinking. Let's get some more of these mana spreaders. So if we take a look at mana spreader, we're going to want more of the elven ones. So let's get more dreamwood. We don't have any. So let's grab 48 more, I think would be reasonable. And what else are we going to need? We're going to need a bunch of elementium. So let's grab mana steel. Let's just go ahead and turn all of it into elementium. And like I said, you can see that these pools are pretty full up now. There we go. And essentially the plan is as follows. We can grab our mana spreaders. Beautiful. And what I'm going to do, I think these are fine for the time being. I think they should probably continue to point into separate, into their own individual mana pools. But I think from there, I am probably going to split it into 4 and 4. Like so. So these 4 are going to point straight down, and then these 4 are going to each have their own respective spreader that they will send to. And now our entire setup looks kind of like a whole bunch of cannons, and I think that's extra cool. Now what we can also do is move these. I'm going to move them and rebind them here. And the last step is to take our sparks and tell all 4 of these sparks that they belong up here. Now what I don't know is, can the mana distributor get a spark? No. Okay, good. So yeah, I like having a nice big cache. Otherwise, you could technically just have these 2 and have them be the source or the distribution to these 2 and not have all these mana spreaders. But first of all, it looks extra cool this way. And second of all, the... oh, that's not actually necessary anymore. The way that everything is set up, I think it just looks better this way. And on top of that, the... additional storage is very nice, because at some point we're going to have a lot of things that we're going to want to craft out of, and we don't want to have to wait. So for example, if we wanted an infusion, or no, altar, what we could do is something super simple like this. Let's take, where have we been? We've been doing, wow, I did that kind of strange, didn't I? If we wanted this, we could have U into U, and then we would have all of our crafting done. I don't actually like that there, though. Come to think of it, I think it would look better literally anywhere else. So we'll have to play around with that. Maybe here is the place to go, since that's where everything else is kind of centered around. I don't know. I will admit that things are kind of starting to get a little crazy at this point. But we can also do a lot of work to either hide or kind of clean up a lot of this. So it does quite a bit depend on sort of what works out in the long run. But you can see that our pools up here are going to be filling. This guy is almost full, like very soon to be full. If I toss you in, you will be completely full. And so now all of our mana is going to be feeding into here, which is much, much faster. So yeah, I'm going to let this run for a little bit. I just want to see how well this handles itself. Make sure that we are doing good on things like eggs. We're actually at a deficit, but again, once everything fills up, once our buffers are all met, we're going to be good. Because currently we don't have anything that is ongoing use of mana. It's just occasional crafts that are initiated by me. So unless I'm doing stuff, it's not going to be using mana, which is good because it means we don't really have to be concerned about the longevity of the current setup, because it's fine. So yeah, I think, whoops, I want you to do that. I think for now I'm just gonna kind of help it out in a couple places. I could also put sparks here and here, and that would probably just do it for me. Yeah, like I said, that is the fast way of doing things. Sparks are considerably faster. Maybe we should use sparks. You know, I just had all this work done. Maybe we should just use sparks. Let's just see. So there is, whoops, I did actually need that. There is another option that we have here. If I make sure that you are bound and you are bound, there is a different augment that I did not show you, and that is the Recessive Augment. And that basically says I don't want any mana anytime unless everything else already has mana. It basically says I would like to be the low man on the totem pole, which is a pretty useful trait for these two pools here because, yeah, we don't really care if they have mana. That's not what I'm ever going to be really concerned about. I want them to just produce mana for me. So let us put this one here, and you'll see it's going to immediately try to fill these guys up, and that's good. In fact, since we don't need our mana splitter anymore, we can put another pool here and grab another spark. This just being a standard spark once again. And we are going to need another Rune of Earth. So let's grab that guy really quick. And this will give us a lot more space, too, to kind of work around and craft. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that I'm a fan of. Botania spreader. Oh, it's in my inventory still. Derp. So if we take you and tell you to go here. And now we can do recessive on this as well. And now you'll see that this is just going to start flooding with mana. Why are you out of cake? I had just mentioned that I didn't think we would be out of anything, and here we are. Is it milk? It is milk. Sort of. Yeah, I think it's milk. I think the issue is that we need more milk. Let's tick accelerate these once again. Yeah, it was milk. Okay, let's head back to our little botanical area. Yeah, so this is definitely going to be the fastest method to get mana around. It seems to have pretty much no complaints. I always forget how much better sparks are, but mana spreaders are the way to go if you need to get to a specific block, whereas sparks are only from pool to pool, or pool to occasional other things. But usually it's from one pool to another. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to let this run for a little bit. That way we can fill up our buffer. We can make sure we have enough to craft everything that we want to craft. And I will be back. Okay, so I don't know how to put this, but I have set up an alternative milking situation better than these guys, the cow jar, because those guys are pretty slow. You notice I have 77 buckets. Well, let's just say, theoretically, right? We had a modular router, and it had an activator module, which was right-clicking on an entity. We had a puller module, which was pulling empty buckets out of a valve, and a pusher, or center module, which was sending milk buckets into the valve. Let's just say it also had 9 speed upgrades, and it had maybe been kind of fast. Kind of way too fast. Kind of crazy fast. So I'm not gonna say that this is done, but it's done. We're not gonna go with this system anymore, because I realize the cows don't have a milking cooldown. So why should we be waiting on cows? Yeah. So we're probably gonna do something like this. Obviously, we're gonna do it somewhere kind kind of less in the middle of our everything. But let's just say that milk is no longer the problem. However, my crafting system is mad because I took the bucket. So yeah, this is just kind of the status quo now. So here's what we're going to do is we're going to just take this because I think this is the plan. And we're going to put it, first of all, there's a muffle upgrade. We're going to make this for sure. I feel very terrible for this setup. Like, it's one of those that makes me feel very guilty in Minecraft, and the fact that Minecraft lets you do stupid stuff like this. But at the same time, like, desperate times, you know, like, we're simple Minecrafters. We need milk. And that's sort of where we're at. So I am going to do the following. If we grabbed another elevator, I want to make sure we can get in here if we ever need it for any particular reason. So there's that. I don't really give a crud what we end up texturing it as. So maybe something... cow, leather. Is there like a leather block texture? Yeah, that works. It's kind of a good looking texture, honestly. And so what we can do is put... I hope that wasn't a critical valve. Okay, good, it wasn't. There are certain blocks in the multi-block that are very important, and I was slightly, not terribly, but slightly afraid that that was an important block. So at the moment, it wants to send up there, but we want to change that to say send here instead. Otherwise, if I were to give you that, that's still as insanely instantaneous as ever. So now we should put a cow here. We should put muffling upgrades in here. So what we're going to do is set up, at this anchor, we're going to set up cow, milk, step, and ambient. Cow, milk, farm. And we're just going to set the radius to maybe like 8 blocks. It doesn't have to be huge. And it's just going to be set right here. So anytime we're in this area, we're not going to hear those sounds. Anywhere else, we should be able to hear them just fine. Like if I came over here and we grabbed our cow. We have a cow spawn egg. I guess that's fine. We can still hear it. If I were to milk it, that still makes the sound. We are all good there. But yeah, I think that's pretty crazy. How fast that is. Again, I feel really just absolutely terrible about myself for making such a monstrous contraption. Like it truly is just the worst. But it's for science. And I mean, like, this cow is doing fine, right? I would argue that this cow is in great shape. Very happy. 10 out of 10. But yeah, this system just, like, we're already at 950 buckets of milk. Out of a possible 5,000 still. Like, that's still an insane amount of milk possible, but... yeah, no. There we go. 1,000 buckets. And that's just, it is so fast. It's just unfair. So now, if we were to go to our botanical area, first of all, good to see cake. Second of all, yeah, that's completely jam-packed. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, well, I know it might be a bit of a short one after we just had a very long episode in the last episode, but I do think that we might be coming up on the wrapping up point here just because of all the changes we've just done. But you can see that there's still quite a lot of mana left to store, quite a lot of mana that we've got here. So let's take a look. I know we have some quests to redeem. I don't want to leave you hanging. I always hate when other people leave us hanging on those. So we got Spark Tinkerer. The heck is that? I've actually never seen one of these. I should probably read into that. Let's see. Let's see. Spark Tinker is a block with the ability to modify augments on sparks. Placing one adjacent to a mana pool will connect it to that block. Oh, they're talking about the spark, I'm assuming, right? Right-clicking the Spark Tinker with a Spark Augment will pull the augment in the block. The augment can be removed again by right-clicking again. And when it gets a redstone signal, it'll randomly pick an adjacent spark. Okay, so this is basically just a way to modify sparks in-world without having to interact with them as a player. Like just doing it as an automated machine. If you needed to pull them, like let's say we had these recessive sparks that we wanted to pull off of them at a certain point, you could control it with redstone and adjacency to the sparks, I guess. And that's really cool. Not something I think I would ever really have to get into, but it is pretty neat. So it looks like there are some other things. Did we ever grab Ender Air? I think we probably did. Yeah, oh, we certainly did. Let's get into some of these other quests really quickly, because this should not take all that long. If we quickly grab a couple of these things. There's a lot to Botania that I just probably won't ever get into, and it's not because I don't like Botania. It's just because a lot of it's more advanced than is really ever needed. So a Master Corporea Spark is just one of these upgraded like so. And then another one of these to get a Corporea Spark to get a Corporea Index. And this is part of the process of doing Corporea networks, which allow you to, I think, move items back and forth, kind of like a logistics network in some degree. Again, so that's something that I've never, ever gotten into. It's always been way too complicated for me, but I'd love to play with this at some point. If you think that I should, do let me know, and I will probably take some time to allocate to kind of get into that and explain it. It's not something we would use because we already have refined storage and everything, but if you were playing a mod pack that was primarily magic-based and this mod was installed, it would probably be your best bet for getting a really nice setup for requesting items on the fly without having to, you know, go and actually find them yourself and wait for them to get to you and so on and so forth. So yeah. Let's see what's next on the quest line. I'd love to just finish up this branch. So there is a Mana Infuser to get Alf Steel. This could be pretty cool. And then an Alf Steel Pylon uses the same thing, but for Gaia Pylon, which we could do. Let's quickly do Gaia Pylon, because we should have everything for this. We'll just need 2 more standard Mana Pylons, and then... Oh, we actually have exactly not enough to do all that. That's okay. Ingot and Mana Pearl. Nope, Pearl. We can just toss that in there, and that should get us those. And then I'm going to quickly... I don't actually know... The Mana Infuser itself, I don't know if it can still do Terra Steel. Oh, it certainly can. Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, let me get these runes crafted up. I know that that's going to be a bit of a pain, so I'm going to do my usual jump cutting, and we will be back. Okay, so this one's interesting. It requires the Rune of Asgard. Well, if you'll look, we're okay on a lot of these, but it requires a Rod of Bifrost. This guy's pretty cool. It can place a temporary path between you and where you're looking, made out of Bifrost. And I don't know if you can break these. No, it looks like they're not breakable. But it will eventually go away. It's essentially just making sort of a bridge for you, which I've always thought was super cool. So let's say I wanted to go out here. I'd have to wait for the Rod of Bifrost's cooldown to work or break down. But it's wonderful, like exploring the Nether, going through the End a lot as well, building yourself a nice solid path. So you can see that went away. It is going to be required for both Bifrost blocks, which are made of Alf glass. Alf glass is not that hard, but I definitely want to get more. So let's take Mana glass, and we've got to send it through the portal of Alfheim. This will get you Alf glass. Alf glass is really cool looking. You can see it has a nice little effect and texture. It also glows. And you can shapelessly craft this with your Rod of Bifrost to get Bifrost blocks, which are sort of a glass version of the Bifrost that you can place and you can break, and it has that very beautiful rainbow gradient. It's probably one of my favorite blocks, and we're probably going to end up switching over to it here on this level. Instead of continuing to use Mana Glass, we'll probably use Bifrost. But it says that it wants one of those in the recipe here. And I don't know if it's going to destroy it or not. We're also going to need a Rune of Pride. I think we have everything we need for this one. Yep, and if my calculations are correct, this shouldn't consume the Rune of, what is that, Summer? Yeah, I don't think it should consume it. If it does, that's okay. But I think we should be fine. I was just really surprised to see this new rune. I think it's a Mythic Botany. No, it's not. This is a... Oh, yeah, this one is. There we go. Okay, good. It did not consume it. And now we have almost everything. I think that basically is everything. Let's see. Rune of Asgard. Yeah, there we go. That is everything we need. I don't know if it's going to consume the Rod of Bifrost. I have to assume probably not, but... heck if I know. We're going to find out. I've never gotten into Mythic Botany before, and I think this is going to be a really fun and interesting foray into it. And hopefully this won't make the episode go on too terribly long. I just want to make sure that, you know, we don't end up with another 45, 50-minute video again. I know that those aren't always the best to watch. It did consume the Rod of Bifrost. Well, hey, that's okay. We do have a good bit of those. So now the Mana Infuser, all it wants is a piece of Dreamwood. That is glimmering. So we're going to need living wood. And we're going to need to toss it into our portal. I have to actually successfully throw it in, not like a dingus. And we need to make it glimmering. And now we can craft ourselves a Mana Infuser. So that is step 1. Now, step 2 is we also need 5 of this Shimmer Rock. It looks like it is pretty straightforward to make. Shimmer Rock is just the Bifrost blocks that I made. Fortunately, I made them before we got lost our Rod of Bifrost, because that would have been kind of a pain. And if I'm guessing correctly, I would have to assume that it is the same setup that we had before, but with our new blocks here. So we have Shimmer Rock, which changes color, but it's still living rock. And with our Mana Infuser in the center, and that on top, I would have to believe is probably what you're supposed to do. And now, if you take, it takes 2 whole mana pools. That's pretty nuts. You can see that if you take the standard recipes, they still work. But if you do this one is special. So this is going to get a piece of Alf Steel. We're going to need a mana diamond to do this. But most importantly, it's going to take just a whole crud ton of resources. Let me grab my... we should have a Solgnolia up here, just to make sure that we don't ever accidentally pick up our blocks here. So let's put it maybe up here. And let's see. If I put that, and that, it should start right. Probably a dominant. Yep, and that's going to start pulling from all of our mana pools. It's getting pretty orange. I think this is probably the last one. There we go. There's no sound for it, though. Anyways, there's Alf Steel. So Alf Steel is insanely complicated. It's the netherite to your Terra Steel weapons and tools, which we didn't even get a chance to look at. We're going to have to backtrack because Terra Steel is a really cool set of stuff. We got a Rune of Sloth and some more Dragon Stones. That's pretty nice. But now we are almost done with the tail end here. All we have left to do is take these and upgrade our pylons. And with the upgraded pylons, You can see it's been well established that at this point, mana is an excellent for forming spontaneous recombinations. Some of the magic have been harnessed by absorbing latent mana in the globules left behind when the living pass. The Alf Steel pylon helps to speed the process along, injecting pure mana directly into these mendable items. Use a mana spreader to send mana into the pylon. Any items enchanted with mending that find themselves atop the pylon will rapidly repair at the cost of mana. So I don't know that we needed 2 of those, but that's okay. They're not terribly... The ingots aren't terribly difficult to make. I didn't know that they were so powerful, though. That's pretty insane, and that has such a cool-looking texture. I'll look into maybe using those at some point, but honestly, we have such a good setup for getting XP that I don't know that it would necessarily be all that worth it. But that does leave us left with one last little bit to get into, and that's the entire Gaia and later Alfheim stuff. So we have already completed, just in the last couple of episodes, all 3 of the main Botania lines of logic and progression. At this point, if we were going hardcore with Botania, we would probably be done. We would probably be, at this point, wrapped up with it and not really using it anymore. But there is a lot of stuff. So if we take a look at the Alf Steel Ingot and the... let's see. So if there is Mythic... There we go. There is the Alf Blade. The Alf Blade has a starting damage of 13. This one has a starting damage of 14. But I think because of the AoE on this, it might be worthwhile to still look into it. There's the Alf Shatterer and the Alf Truncator and some really great armor. Let's see. That's 3, 8, 6, and 3. So that's 12, 20. Looks like this has maybe swim speed and speed boost overall. So that's pretty neat. It looks like there's also just kind of a whole lot of other things to do. The Yellar Horn. So many cool things. So yeah, overall, I think that our setup here is really looking quite grand. I have a lot of work to do just to kind of clean stuff up, but I think, honestly, we've made such great progress in Botania, and I'm very happy with how things are going so far. So next episode may or may not be one of the last few episodes of Botania. I think probably 2 more episodes left of content for Botania. But yeah, overall, I think we're doing really well off for ourselves. So thanks a whole lot for watching this episode, and in the next one, we are already full on milk. That's insane. In the next one, we will hopefully finish up, or at least start to finish, our late game botanical quests. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.